do with this little tip, except it has a plunger as well, which we'll use to push off our larvae. So I'm gonna pretty much stop talking at some point, because my favorite thing to do is actually have you guys practice, and I essentially want you to sacrifice some larvae, okay? We're gonna break this apart. When you watch any videos of someone grafting, we're gonna break that whole thing apart so you can do it quickly, because each little step of grafting is its own process. So first you have to be able to look and see in the bottom of the cell. Everyone's eyes are different. So if you watch me grafting, I'll hold my headlamp, or I'll have my phone on the side, and I shine it at an angle to my comb. That's how I can see into the bottom of the cell. Other people can put it right on their head, look right in and see it. Everyone's eyes are different. So when I'm kind of instructing or trying to give you a little tip, just remember, I can't see what you're seeing from your eyes, so adjust things according to your needs. So the first thing is being able to see that shiny brood food with the light shining against it and a small larvae on it. Next is identifying ages. I'm not too particular with ages during this class. I want you to get a positive feedback loop. So if you've read about making queens, or if you've read about, best ways to graft online, and they're talking to you, larvae so small you can't see them, super translucent, less than 12 hours, or all of those things, there's a biological reason why that's being suggested. But in terms of learning, we're going to graft anywhere from 12-hour-old larvae up to 36-hour-old, because we want a positive feedback loop. We want you to pick up this dexterity and cement it into your working brain. So we'll start talking about ages like in the second half of this, but we're not worried about it right now. Not so much. So the next thing is being able to dip this into the cell, and the moment you do that, you can no longer see your larvae. And so everyone has the same essential response, which is, oh great, I found it, this is going to be easy. Fuck, I can't see it.
Or I broke it in half.
Yep, or something like that. And so you're going to have to essentially feel this little tip bending into the bottom of the cell. And your fingers will feel it. You got to get used to it, so you got to be sensitive to that. So that's one little skill. And once you can remove them, I'm going to have you start just ejecting them right onto your thumbnail or my thumbnail. And the reason we want that is it's a little simpler than these little cups that we'll end up transferring into. So these plastic cups right here, thank you. You're welcome. They represent an artificial queen cell. They're the diameter of a natural cell, and they're a little concave on the bottom. And so same thing, if I eject onto my thumbnail and I can get that, I have this clear visualization. The moment I go in here, my optics change a little, and now I have to eject a larvae into something that's also curved. So we're just going to break that step apart. And this is also designed for you to take breaks in between. So once you can see the larvae and pull them out, I might say, okay, give someone else the comb and go take 5 minutes. Your brain's still working on the problem in the background. And when it's kind of like doing guitar lessons, like you can't figure out a chord, you come back 2 days later for that same lesson and you can just strum it like you've known it your whole life. Your brain was still working on that problem. So we want that same thing, even though we only have 2 or 3-ish hours here to do this skill, where you'll practice, get a little frustrated, get it, you'll take a break, come back, and all of a sudden where you started in the beginning, and then you moved up and you're like, oh great, I made the summit, that's your new base camp, and you just keep climbing from there. So that's kind of like the function of it. So if you're taking a break and eating a donut, you're actually working. Homer Simpson was not wrong.
You're a psychologist too.
What's that?
I said you're a psychologist too.
No, I just like learning. Not at all. Nope. So I am a wannabe entomologist, and hopefully in a year I will be. So cool. Stations are right here. The bees will get a little robby. So there's not much of a nectar flow on right now, and we're going to be taking out these brood frames, but there's nectar on the edge of those brood frames, so the bees will scent and they'll come on over. So the towels here offer 2 things. One, they'll keep your larvae nice and damp, and we can use them for longer, but also if you get up from your station, you can just cover the whole thing, and it'll reduce the robbing pressure. I really don't want to keep talking because I can hear my own voice and don't like it. And 2, it's not helping anyone at this point. We want you to have that working knowledge. So I'm going to go check in with Tuck to see what they have for brood frames, and we'll get started. Cool. Sweet.
You got a good voice. Sorry.
And what we're hoping for is, through adhesion, the water molecules from my saliva here are going to connect with the brood food at the bottom of the cell.
There's no worry about any sort of contamination or anything weird?
If your saliva is that bad that you're contaminating larvae,
No, but I mean,
please,
the human mouth
please
is
go to a doctor. Okay.
You're like, wow.
So
fine.
that's what we're doing. Go get some
Okay.
like saline and solution.
No. Just want to make sure I'm not poisoning anybody.
What I want to do is, if my hand's the bottom of the cell, and this is my grafting tool, I'm going to come down very steeply.
Yes.
My tool is going to bend as it hits the bottom of the cell. It's going to go underneath the larvae. I'm not actually grabbing the larvae, I'm grabbing the brood food. I make a slight twist, but I pull out in the same direction I came out with, and I remove the larvae largely without touching it.
Okay.
If I'm scooping, that means I'm focusing on the larvae. I'm mostly touching the larvae, not much brood food. But when I put it here, she's not going to be sitting in a puddle.
No, totally.
So between here and getting attended by bees, she could get desiccated.
Sure.
Or they could just decide she's dry or there's damage and reject her.
Not worth it. Yeah.
And so my experience is this leads to lower takes.
Okay. Which clearly makes sense.
Yeah, and so what I really want is, I'm just going to grab one, whether it's big or not, just because it has...
I was gonna say, I was doing great on the other one, I feel like. But this one is a little
that.
perfect.
See how I have a larvae right there?
Yeah, and you have a ton of the royal jelly. Yeah.
Now that's
Okay.
way too much jelly. That was like...
Really?
Hyperbole.
Is there,
for-
I was gonna say, is
well,
there too much?
Well, there's
that you
that's
can put
enough
in?
right there.
Okay.
But that's more than what you're getting.
Gotcha.
And this is a slightly larger larvae than I
Sure.
really want to, but for demonstrative purposes, this was really great.
Mm-hmm.
She's going to be fine sitting in this cell
Yeah.
while she's covered the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm sorry, but we're going to jump on this right now.
No,
We're going to go
good.
from scooping to picking up that and then pulling it right out.
Okay.
Sweet, let's do it.
Yeah.
Hiya. Take your light and whether or not you want a magnifying glass, and then look in there to see if you can identify brood food, which will just come up as white and shiny, and then whether or not you can see a tiny little larvae sitting on top. Kind of the first thing. The moment you do, I want you to be uninhibited and just sacrifice with the best of your knowledge. Just kind of reach in with this tool and see if you can pull one out, and we'll start from there.
Get out. Do we really have ants pulling out?
Oh, that one might have been sitting out.
It was.
Yeah.
Do we have ants pulling out eggs?
Yeah.
Those eggs?
Yep.
Of course, that's
They're harvesting.
Eat
Yummy, yummy protein.
Oh my gosh.
They're doing it better than you did.
Hey!
Hey, you only got we eventually need our virgin queens to go to mated. So you need to do this at a time of the year where you have significant number of mature drones. Mature drones and drones are just two different things. On grafting day, if I have just eggs, I can't do anything.